Heads up, everybody. The Summer Renegade Accelerator program is open for enrollment as of now. Head to renegadeaccelerator.com if you want to check it out, hear from the graduates. We are all about 10xing our ideas and execution, creating a healthier relationship with time and money, and doing this through education, collaboration, and accountability. This program is for female executives, founders, leaders who are really ready to level up and use the curriculum that I've put into place to help guide them to where they want to go. We focus on your personal brand and brand essence, increasing your influence online to create connections that convert, productizing your intellectual property. We focus on podcasting, publishing, marketing partnerships, as well as wealth creation and innovation. I pretty much share everything I've learned over the last 20 years and also bring in some of my mentors and guides to help share what they've learned as well to guide you. For more information, just head to renegadeaccelerator.com. You can apply for the program there. We are currently in the early decision deadline timeframe, so there is incentive in terms of the investment for the tuition. So check it out. There's a video on the homepage where you will hear from the graduates. You will hear their results, their experience. You'll see this mosaic of like-minded, like-hearted women who come together to really level up and lift each other up. renegadeaccelerator.com. And if you're not certain, but just want to check it out, sign up for our emails. I will guide you through a process to help you determine if this is a good fit for you, if the timing's right, and what do you have to lose, right? Go ahead and sign up, and I will hopefully connect with you soon.
I am divinely built for this moment and I deserve to be here. And why that's important, I think, for anybody that wants to start anything, a business, a nonprofit, anything that you feel is entrepreneurial, is that what makes you unique is your superpower, because nobody can execute it the way that you were intended to execute it.
I'm Amy Jo Martin. Welcome to the Why Not Now show. You know that thing you've been thinking about doing? Yeah, that one. Why not now? Have you ever actually taken the time to ask yourself, what's stopping me? Let's talk it through. This is your chance to give that idea the attention it deserves and take action. Each episode, I have a chat with a fascinating person, from entrepreneurs to athletes, celebrities, my parents, rocket scientists, and all walks of life. We talk through a critical time when they've asked themselves, why not now? We dissect that day or even that moment, step by step.
Just let go.
Today, we have the co-founders of the gameHERS joining me, which is incredible. There are 4 of them, and we have a conversation about women in gaming. So Laura and Rebecca and Verta and Heather join me. They are creating a new platform, a new experience for women in gaming. What I didn't realize is that nearly half of all gamers are women. And I also was not quite aware of how big and fast-growing the gaming industry is in general. This is a huge opportunity. And these 4 incredibly passionate, and they call themselves nerdy, women are dedicated to building an authentically inclusive community for women gamers. I've been fortunate to really get a look under the hood and get to understand the gameHERS a little better, because one of the co-founders, Rebecca Dixon, has just graduated from the Renegade Accelerator course. Their Why Not Now story and how this all started is pretty interesting, because it started at a conference for all men, all men in the gaming industry. And as they tell their Why Not Now story, it just gives me goosebumps to think about what is possible in terms of disruption. And they're doing it. If you've ever wondered what it's like to have a co-founder, you'll want to listen, let alone 3 co-founders, because there's a total of 4. And they talk about what it's like in terms of staying in their swim lanes, but also creating a situation where they're all providing insight and value at any given moment when it comes to decision making. But this isn't their first run at entrepreneurship. They've proven to be successful as a conglomerate with a successful exit in the past, which we also discuss. I love hearing these stories of the early stage startups who are getting momentum, but also willing to talk about the real stuff, the real challenges, how they're navigating from day to day and adjusting, especially over the last year. And they are real. They give us a bit of a look under the hood. Without further ado, here are the gameHERS: Laura, Rebecca, Verta, and Heather. Welcome to the Why Not Now show. This is the first time I've ever had 4 individuals at the same time, and you guys are some amazing co-founders of the gameHERS. In the spirit of Why Not Now, let's hop right in. Can you tell me about a time when you had a big decision to make and you had to ask yourself, why not now? We'll dissect that day, that minute, that hour, or season to really understand how you got from idea to action.
So I love this question, and I'll speak on behalf of my awesome 3 co-founders that were super excited to be here. I think the why not now for me, and I'll let my co-founders chime in a minute, was really the journey to starting this business. And it happened in 3 parts. The first was a why not now for me with a pause and a question mark, like, ooh, why not now? And the second part was a why not now with a period more leaning in. And it ended with a heck yeah, why not now? Like, let's do this. So let me back into the journey a little bit. So how we all decided to start this company happened 2 years ago. Rebecca and I were on in a Goldman Sachs conference. And the theme of the conference was gaming and just how huge the industry was, gaming and esports. And the theme was how fast it was growing, how lucrative it was, who made up the space. And what we learned was that almost half the gamers out there are women. And we learned that it was incredibly lucrative and growing really fast. And there was all these exciting ways for people to get involved. Rebecca was there with me. Her family are co-owners of an esports team. So that's what brought her there. And she was sitting next to me, and I was there because I was designing toys in the esports space for the visionary behind Pokemon and Cabbage Patch. So I was there as an inventor, wanting to know more about this space and could figure out if I could design better toys in this space. And while we were there in the audience hearing that half the gaming population are women, Rebecca and I looked at each other and realized that we were 2 of the only women in the space, literally in the space, in the auditorium, and that many of the speakers and the majority of the speakers were men. And we had this moment of looking at each other thinking, this feels not right. And as we were thinking that, this awesome gentleman who's the co-founder of Pop Dog, Niles Heron, came on the stage and he kind of said, hey, before I do my talk, I'm just looking out on this audience and I'm seeing all these speakers and like, are we going to do this again? Are we going to have $1 billion industry run by men? And we left there and my first reaction was no. And what can we do about it? And as an inventor, my first reaction was, well, can I invent something, a product that helps women in this space? And in order to build that product, I decided to do some research into what women were talking about in gaming. So I was Googling, I was going on forums, I was going on Facebook, I was going on Reddit. And what I realized was there was a lot of really interesting conversations going on, especially in the not-for-profit world that leaned into very specific disciplines in gaming. whether it be women in STEM or developers. But what I didn't find was a space that connected women that just wanted to game and meet each other. So that was my first why not now moment, with a pause and a question mark, like, why not now? And why are these conversations not happening in a kind of more formal way? And what platform does exist? And like, where are the newsletters for these women? And where are the articles that amplify women in this space and not just bubble up all the toxicity, but also talk about all the like cool, awesome stuff going on with these women inside and outside of gaming? And then the next why not now came when I contacted that gentleman, Niles Heron. I did not have his email. I contacted his info desk and kind of soft pitched my idea and never expected to hear back from him. And he got on a call with all of us the next day. And when I say all of us, let me pause and say, when I really started to take the question mark out of if this was a good idea was when I called these 3 awesome women that are on this podcast right now, because I trust them more than I trust anyone. And we'll hopefully get into how we all met, both personally and professionally. But they are 3 of the smartest women I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. So when I first had this idea, I emailed all of them and said, this is the idea, are you in? Type of thing. And they were all like, yeah. So that was the first indicator, like maybe this could be something. And then Niles Heron got on the call with us. He was so supportive and so amazing. And we kept waiting for him to say like, yeah, but have you thought about this? Or maybe it's not a great idea, or there's these 5 other people doing this. He didn't say that. And I really, we credit him to this day of, I don't think we'd be here without that initial call with him, where he was so generous with his time and his ideas. And then just to end the heck yeah, why not now? Like, let's do this, was when we all had the honor of really talking with women from around the world, quite frankly, about this idea before we just jumped in, just to say, this is what we're thinking of doing. And this is how we're thinking of doing it. And what we all realized, because we all kind of took a handful of the calls and spread out and then reported back to each other. But what we all realized is these women from around the world were getting up early in the morning to accommodate time zones. They were getting in their cars at lunch breaks to speak with us and saying like, no, please actually do this. Like we need this. So that's a very long-winded of saying how I got from a question mark, pause, to a like, heck yeah, why not now?
Oh my gosh. I love that. I love the fact that Niles stood on stage and said, are we really going to do this again? Because you probably would have arrived at this idea regardless, but that might have sparked or opened the door to, why not pitch him? He's the guy, he said it. You know, you started this. And then getting on the phone and, wow. Okay. So that's helpful, because I think a lot of times we do start with a question mark, then it might be a period, and then it's an exclamation point, it sounds like. So I'm looking at, heads nodding. Rebecca, Laura, Verta, do you have any additional insight or color to add to your point of view in that genesis?
Well, I'll add that Heather was, maybe she sent emails to Laura and Rebecca, but we had drinks. So I just want to keep it like 100. And we had drinks and cocktails as we do, and talked about this idea. And the other thing that I think is really important is that as a Black woman, the fact that Niles Heron is a Black man, and he didn't just say, are we going to do this and it's just going to be men? He said, is it just going to be white men that are leading this charge? And so for me, when I think about the connection to kind of my life, my recent, I feel like I've had so many why not now moments, but the one that led me to be an entrepreneur, to kind of leave working a job at a nonprofit, propelled me to decide I always wanted to do things with people that I, 1, trust, 2, that I think are about the things that I'm about. They may not be perfect at it, but they want to do the things that I want to do. And that, I was really honest. I said, okay, well, Heather, I feel like, yes, we need to create this space to amplify women, and let's not make it be a repeat of all of the other times where white women decided to create a space for women, but then did not include all women in that. And so I said, if you all are down with that, then I'm down with that. And so that I have to add to the story, because for me, that's a very specific aspect of when we get to see all of the different representations of who are in our community. It's because we are working really hard to ensure that being inclusive, being equitable, and actually representative of the diversity that is women is also really important to us as a company. So I think that is what I will add, that drinks were involved, and that for me as a Black woman in the space and being a Black woman founder, right, it's a very rare thing right now. And it doesn't mean it's rare that Black women don't found things. I think just like being in a space that's such like $1 billion industry and having people support you in that. So that's what I would add to the story.
Mm-hmm. This is Laura, and I would love to add a little something to that story as well. So I got that text from Heather, and it said to me, I have our next business idea. And she says, it's Mommy Bites, but for women gamers. And I'm like, what? And to give context here, 3 out of the 4 of us, Rebecca, Heather, and I, worked together in a business for 10 years that we founded in 2006. And it was a community for new and expectant moms. And we worked together for 10 years, and the energy and just how we worked together was so amazing and incredible. And when you run a business, it is so important to really be on the same page with your founders. So, you know, when I got that text, I had to admit I had not been in the gaming space yet, but she could have texted me and said, I have the next Mommy Bites for anything. And I would have been like, hell yeah, I'm in. So the gang was back in business. And as Heather and Verta said, you know, working with these 4 women has just been 3 women has just been such an honor.
And I'll round it out. This is Rebecca. And so Heather really kind of recaps the why not now for me, for, you know, our company. But I think my personal why not now that is relevant to this is I worked in the corporate world for many years, doing advertising and marketing. I was a media buyer, and then I did ad sales for Turner and CBS. I had a baby. I was in New York, living in New York, and kind of trying to figure out, like, I just kind of feeling the entrepreneurial itch. I don't know that I want to stay in the corporate world. And I was, so Laura mentioned Mommy Bites before. She actually founded it. Then Heather became a co-founder, and I was on their mailing list because I was a mom in New York. And they posted a job ad, but they didn't say it was for them, that said, we're looking for a Manhattan-based mom with sales and marketing experience who wants to work from home part-time to help us grow our business. And I was like, that ad was literally made for me. And I think I said, why not now, when I read the ad, and then I met them, and then I joined them, and then I grew with them, and then it became way more than part-time. And what I love about that story is I remember reading it. I was like sitting in my bed with my baby, and it totally changed the trajectory of my life. Put me here today with the 2 of them, and now Verta, and everybody alluded to this, but I'll just sort of round out the story with, there's so many reasons why we're so excited, 13 months after the launch of our company, almost 2 years after it sort of started, the idea started, the need for it in the gaming industry, and, women, and all of those important reasons. But I think, most companies don't have 4 co-founders. We know that, but it's worked really well for us. We all bring something to the table, and it's just really fun to, be here together. So thanks for having us. And I guess that's our group. Why not now?
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. So I want to dissect it a little bit, because Verta, you said something that I think, my first business concept, that I acted upon, started at a bar, and I at the back of a napkin, literally, like, because I'm a marketer, so I'm like, what's the name first? We got to get the name. Anyway, so many people listening have been in those spots where they've got an idea, and it gets better as the night goes on, right? Like, this is going to be big. And then it doesn't go anywhere. Now, you had a jump start because 3 of you had already been road tested, right? You had this momentum of working together well, the successful exit. But when it comes to going from idea to action, it sounds like you went out and hit the streets, and you did your research, and you're talking to women who were generous with their time and sharing. When was the moment where you knew it was green lit? Was it after the night having cocktails, or was it after the data came in? When did it feel like you crossed the starting line?
Well, there's two things I'm going to say, and then I see that Heather's going to say something. But Heather also has a very, I will call it a healthy obsession with domain names. And so the fact that it existed was kind of like, when she said that to me, she was like, yeah, and the domain name exists. I was like, what? How is that even possible? Like, it doesn't seem that, like, yeah, you're super smart, Heather, but somebody did come up with that. So I have to say, like, when she said that, that was kind of a huge thing. For some reason, I don't know, for me, it kind of was like, well, okay, it was like all of the stars were kind of aligning, for lack of a better way to put it. And then I think you're right. Like, a lot of things don't become action oriented. I think that because for me, knowing that Heather, Rebecca, and Laura had kind of worked on something already together, it was almost easy to get into action mode, because it was kind of like bringing people together who had worked on things. And Heather and I have done things at our school together as well, and like worked in that space around things. And so I think that once everyone was kind of like, you know what, we just kind of went into that mode. But for me, it was like the fact, and I think maybe it's silly, but the fact that the domain name existed kind of felt like, well, the universe is saying, like, come on, like, I'm literally handing you this domain name. Like, so if you don't want to do it, someone else will grab it. And so that was one thing for me, just have to say it.
So when Heather did say a community for women gamers, of course, that second I open up my computer, I'm like, let me see what we're up against, or let's see what's out there. And I start Googling community for women gamers, And I was, for a long time, trying to, and nothing was coming up. And I'm like, oh my God, Heather, like, nothing's coming up. Like, what is going on here? Our experience has been building groups for moms. And in 2006, when you used to Google groups for moms, nothing much came up. Now, if you Google groups for moms, everything comes up. Moms with one kid, moms who live in Florida, anything comes up. So it was such an aha moment for me that we are in this inception of creating all of these spaces for women in gaming. And it was such a clear need and opportunity at the same time.
What brings you positive energy around this, right? What gets you up in the morning for each of you?
I think that what brings me positive energy is, we talked about our why not now moments, and I feel like we keep having them. Why not do this? Why not do this? We keep getting positive feedback. We keep getting momentum, and we continue to meet more and more women in the industry and who are gamers who, think that what we're doing is needed and is it a great idea. So some examples of that are, we launched in March of 2020. Of course, then COVID happened, and then the social justice movement of 2020 that, sort of put some of the issues that we're trying to, talk about on a little bit more of a bigger platform. So a lot of what we're doing is sort of out there. And every time we meet somebody, we meet another group, we meet another, Heather mentioned the nonprofits. There's so many nonprofits working towards the same thing that we are. There are so many women executives in the gaming world who are willing to mentor. And every step of the way, we just keep getting great feedback, great support, and it just hasn't stopped. So it's fun to kind of wake up every day and have people say, yes, what you're doing is actually a good idea and it's really working.
I'll chime in here. This is Heather. So what I love most in the world is amplifying other women. I always say, we ran Mommy Bites with the philosophy that we're the least important people in the room. And we've stuck true to that, in that we like to build content and build user experiences and then step out of the way. So, and this is kind of to Rebecca's point. So that jazzes me so much to be able to create a way for other women to shine in a way that feels really true. And also, I'll say this, beautifully presented. And what I mean by that is, we have women that have written incredible articles on our website. And they've never written before in their lives, and they took a chance with us. And we won't just host it, but we'll think very carefully on the pictures used, the spacing, how it shows up in the world. And we've gotten so many emails that they are so proud to have shared their words. And they always say, and it looks so beautiful. And it looks more than I could have ever imagined. So that for me, it's just such a feel good.
So for me, it connects to my why not, all the things that I've done previous to the gameHERS. And it's really just about connecting with people. And the opportunity to have young girls that would have been me when I was little see me doing something like this. One of the things that's really been made clear is that you kind of can't see yourself doing something if you kind of don't see a path for you to get there. And some of that involves seeing people that look like you doing that thing, right? And so in the work that I've done around anti-oppression and anti-racism, that's really important. It's important for little Black kids to see a Black woman gaming, a Black woman that's like starting a company, right? And so that is what, like, every morning I'm like, yes, I get to like really connect with people. The other thing is that it was very important for me when I left my last job in nonprofit to enter the for-profit space, because I think that where there is profit to be made, you need to see women. You need to see other people that the system traditionally marginalizes, because that will raise an entire globe. It will raise an entire community. And what else? That the other thing that gets me to get up in the morning, and I'm so excited, is that we get to hire women in the space and we get to pay them. We've even paid like some people that write for us. We really are really critically thinking about how to give people that may not have gotten this opportunity, and for the most part, there are people that are not men, this opportunity to make money in something that they love, to discover ways that they can make a career out of something that they love, and that they can connect with other people to build that network and to like just really elevate the collective. So that's what I would add.
And this is Laura. And I think for me, when we first started out, before we were even live, we said, let's make sure we're onto something. And we went to a big PAX conference, which is one of the biggest conferences for people who game. And we showed up on the floor where the businesses were. We had our big logo in the background and some comfy couches, and we basically made our introduction to the world. And we're like, here we are. And I remember on the way there feeling so nervous because this was really our coming out. How were people going to react? How was it going? And the response from the community was beyond our wildest dreams. Like, people coming up to us and just literally thanking us for doing this. There was a non-binary person who came up to us, and just the fact that we said in our messaging that we include non-binary people, just the fact that we wrote that word non-binary made that person so happy. And I realized that this was really deeper than just providing a product or a service that makes your life a little easier. We were providing a community that could really change people's lives. And we're learning that more and more. So it just jazzes me so much to know that we are truly creating something so incredibly meaningful to so many people.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. I'm hopping in here to tell you about a new discovery of mine. I'm in love, and let me tell you, I've fallen hard. We all like our caffeine in the morning. I look forward to that first, second, and fifth cup of coffee in the morning, but now I exclusively drink super coffee. I'm such a fan that I actually invested in the company, the team, and their culture. The love for what I do every day makes me jump out of bed in the morning, but super coffee truly fuels that fire. It's fueled with positive energy, from the ingredients they use to their brand promise. Super coffee removes the negatives like sugar and adds the positives like MCT oil and protein so that you can maximize your day. I have an embarrassing secret. I used to be addicted to diet soda. I'd roll out of bed and pop open a can before my eyes were even fully open. I had never been a huge coffee drinker, but when I gave up diet soda on July 12th, 2015, yes, the moment deserves an anniversary. It was a big deal. I needed another caffeine source at that point. For me, that meant coffee with lots of artificial sweeteners, with crazy ingredients I can't pronounce that made me crash by 2 p.m. or so. Well, not anymore. Super coffee is different. As I mentioned, there's no added sugar, and some of the flavors I love have 10 grams of plant protein. Now, I'm not a big meat eater, so this really helps, and they've just added a few new flavors to their plant-based offering, like French vanilla and sweet cream. They only use ingredients that are great tasting, great for you, and sustain you for the long haul. Nothing shady, only positives. The taste is delish, I can tell you. Take it from someone who needs that extra flavor to enjoy the taste of coffee. And Super Coffee also comes in ground coffee, Keurig pods, creamers, and more on their website, drinksupercoffee.com. One of the things my team and I love most is that on drinksupercoffee.com, you can shop Super Coffee's wide variety of products based on your dietary needs, including gluten-free, plant-based, Whole30, keto, or even vegan, right there on their website. There's something for everyone. While you're on the site, go ahead and stock up because Super Coffee is hooking up Why Not Now listeners with a 25% discount. Head to supercoffee.com and use the code Why Not Now for your 25% discount on all products. drinksupercoffee.com is the only place this offer is available, and your discount works again for all products. Just use Why Not Now as your code, all one word. There are no restrictions. I'm an investor in Super Coffee because the founders truly do walk the talk. Yes, their coffee provides positive energy, but so does their company culture. Their founders are three brothers who share a work hard and be nice to people mentality, and they spread that throughout their culture at Super Coffee. They know the importance of having diverse perspectives at the leadership level. And you know, I'm a fan of elevating women in leadership. In fact, one of my Renegade Accelerator grads, Jamie Christ, is one of those women. So once that positive energy arrives on your doorstep, hit me up on social at Amy Jo Martin and show me what flavors and products you went with. And bonus points if you try one of their seasonal blends. The company is growing quickly, and you'll probably start noticing Super Coffee in your local Walmart, Target, or Costco. They are now in over 30,000 retailers nationwide. To take advantage of your exclusive 25% discount, head to drinksupercoffee.com and enter Why Not Now at checkout. That's Why Not Now, all one word. drinksupercoffee.com is the only place this offer is available, and your discount works for all products, no restrictions. When you started out and you had this concept of community for women in gaming, how has it shifted? Has the roadmap been about 50% of what you thought? Has it turned out to be maybe 10, 90? Because we always have a vision, and in my experience, it usually changes day one. But the concept and the why can still hold true. It just might take shape in a different way.
I can start with this one and then somebody else can chime in. You know, the overall mission of what we are, why we are here, I would say has not changed. We're here to amplify and celebrate the women who are already doing great things in gaming, so that other women and younger women can see them and it can be normalized, and also to create an easy and safe way for women in gaming to connect. That's been pretty consistent. I think each of us probably have different ways individually based on sort of our different roles where things have changed. For me, one thing that has happened over the past year is that a lot of women in gaming have sort of come together in a variety of ways more than they did before because of a number of reasons that, 2020 in general, a lot of the events of that year, I think, contributed to that. And I also just think the trajectory of the gaming industry, what's been great about that is that anybody supporting anything that has sort of anything in common with our mission is someone that we want to amplify. And so that's better actually for us if there are even more people doing kind of what we're doing. No one's doing exactly what we're doing, but there's so many other wonderful organizations that have popped up. So I think that's been a little bit of a trajectory change in terms of just being able to sort of use that to sort of make what we're doing even have a bigger impact. But then there have been some other sort of more technical and specific changes as we've gone along the way that maybe some of my teammates would want to jump in about or share their experiences.
Well, I mean, I think a big pivot is that when we started talking, right, everyone was still gathering in person. And so that was still able to be a part of, like, that was literally a big factor and big function of, like, community means that we get together in person and have drinks and, talk about really cool things. And so that actually was a huge pivot. I don't think that it would be fair to dismiss that, right? And that it in some ways it benefited us as a company, right? Because it actually allowed more eyes to be on the fact that we were here because everyone was in this kind of wrapped in technology moment. That said, it is very different, and you have to really think critically about what it means to create community in a space where you don't have that option, right? Because it's one thing to have digital connections, whether it be through a game or whether it be on Twitch or in Discord. Like, those things are necessary and they help, and there are people that have never met and they're like best of friends. That's not all of that population, right? So a place like PAX is because maybe you've been playing all year and you finally decided we're going to meet at PAX. We don't have that right now. So that actually, for me, especially as I think about what it means to build community, what it means to really know that you still have to be able to be in person with people and that day is going to come back, is really made me think about all of the things that I'm doing, right? And so I was going to do a podcast. This is like, as part of, we're like, yeah, as far as going to do a podcast. And then, like, now I stream on Twitch, have been for like ever. I would never have expected that. There's so many things that I just wouldn't have even, if you had said 2 years ago, Verta, you're going to have a show on Twitch. Verta, you're going to found this company with Laura, Heather, and Rebecca. It's going to be about, it's going to be called the gameHERS, or like you're going to actually be on Discord and figure out ways to do event. I would never have imagined it. So that's been a huge pivot, because for a company that is so community based, we've had to really be thinking about that, right? And thinking about what it means to do that in the space. And I think what Heather said about listening to our community, right? Like every idea is an idea, and then people come and that idea becomes their idea. And I think the pivot there is around what it means to like bring on a whole entire team of people, where I think like 90% of people that we hire are gamers, right? Are like, they do. And so when we have to think about, wait, they're like, that doesn't feel authentic, or you need to change that, or how about we add this thing that you never thought of? So I think it's happening all the time, quite frankly, but the biggest one is around building community in a time where we actually are not sure yet, still not sure when we'll be able to come together in person in a larger way, or in a way, period, right?
Yeah. I love that you said that, Verta, because I think one of our most successful, I'm going to call it an event, but internally it was a product. It was how we grew really quickly in a really authentic way, was through, I'll brag about Laura, through an idea that Laura had, which is the Gamer Awards. And I don't think, and I don't think that they would have happened if two things hadn't happened. If COVID hadn't happened, and if we weren't 4 women that were good at pivoting. So that was really fortuitous. And the Gamer Awards basically happened a few months after we launched. As Verta said, when we had to completely pivot, I mean, we had plans to go all over the country to all these big in-person events. Like, that was how we were going to grow. That was the plan. And none of that was happening. So Laura had this idea called the Gamer Awards, which were online awards that amplified and celebrated women in gaming and literally gave them awards for women by women. we had all these cool categories. And as Verta said, our entire team got involved and each were responsible for different parts of it to make it a success. We had no idea what would happen with the awards because we were brand spanking new, quite honestly. And they ended up really quick going viral. And like, I know sometimes people say like, oh, something went viral. And I'm always like, well, what does that mean? How viral did it go? I mean, like it went viral to the point where I think in the first 3 days, we had 600 nominees. We had 75,000 votes. Again, we were a brand new company. And this was all through word of mouth and really spoke to, listen, not necessarily us. We gave, again, our big thing is we gave women a platform, but it gave women and men a way to pause and say like, I've known this woman in gaming for X amount of years. She's freaking dope and badass and she deserves an award. I'm going to nominate her. And so it was all about the community amplifying each other. And we just stood back and gave them a platform. And it was super fun to watch. And we ended up, the finale was streamed on the front page of Twitch. We had women from all over the world win. We had this amazing finale show. And again, this all was not the plan, right? Kind of to your point, Amy Jo, like how you started asking this question, like it wasn't the plan. And yet we just went with it. And it ended up being one of the best things, that we could have created.
Yeah, probably more so than the boots on the ground at the events necessarily, right? This was bigger and more resourceful probably as well. So as we think about business, what's one thing that each of you finds yourself learning over and over, like in business? What's a lesson that just keeps popping up?
The lesson for me that keeps popping up is that it's so important to understand people as we are building our business. And it's like in every sort of thread of what we do, we're building a team internally and we have an incredible team. I mean, our team is amazing. Like Heather said before, we're the least important people in the room in terms of our community. We always want to listen to the community to drive that. We also make every possible effort to listen to our team because we hired some amazing women who are experts, and listening to them and understanding them and their experience is so important. And then I think, just people in terms of all of the, like I mentioned before, the organizations that we work with, the people in our community, and, on a broader level, it's people that we're trying to sort of help and create a platform for. And so I think interactions with people being the biggest driver in successful business is the lesson that I keep learning over and over.
For me, it is that I am divinely built for this moment and I deserve to be here. And I think for me, that's about imposter syndrome. That's about not seeing myself represented all the time. And that's about, honestly, we cannot lie. Like a mediocre man can get away with things and be like, hey, yes, I'm going to totally do that thing. And they do it. And they weren't as prepared as I was. I am divinely built for this moment and I deserve to be here. And why that's important, I think, for anybody that wants to start anything, a business, a nonprofit, anything that you feel is entrepreneurial, is that what makes you unique is your superpower, because nobody can execute it the way that you were intended to execute it. And I have to just keep remembering that and keep reminding myself. It doesn't matter that there are other people out there that may want to do something similar. I really operate from an abundance mentality. The fact is that I, Verta, am meant to be the chief community officer and one of the co-founders of the gameHERS because I uniquely bring something to this at this moment. And I have to always continue to lean into that. So I would just tell anyone that you are that. The things that people made fun of you about when you were little are the things that are probably what makes you pretty brilliant right now and will always. And so I want all the young people listening to know that right now. Like that's just lean into all your quirks.
That's good.
This is Laura, and I learned from experience with Mommy Bites. I started it alone and had to go through a bunch of trials and tribulations alone. And there were many times that I literally would cry to my husband. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. The pressure, it was just me. And then my angel Heather came on board and everything changed. So it became so much more fun and it became collaborative. And what I'm learning, for me personally, I don't think I'd ever do a business alone again, really. The fact that I get to brainstorm and collaborate with these 3 other women are every day, it's like 1 + 1 makes 3. So, and I trust them so implicitly that if I have an idea and one of them doesn't think it's a good one, I don't want to do it, because that's how much I trust them. So I've learned, second time now, the power of having more than one person on board. And listen, not everybody always has that luxury. I had to start out alone for a while, but it was something that truly changed my business and my life regarding the business.
My learning lesson has come full circle, and I'm still trying to find balance with it. So when we had our other business, I had to learn to, as Seth Godin says, to ship it, right? And done is better than perfect. Yeah. So to be okay with putting something out in the world that wasn't perfect. Otherwise, it just, no one would ever see it. I then now have swung so much the other direction. So I'm trying to learn to bring it back a little, where I hurl myself through the business process, through life, where like, I want it done, move on. Like, I'm like, ship it without as much thought as I think needs to be done. And again, I know we've all said this and it could be a broken record, but like, that's why for co-founders has been so great, because we all have different personalities. And when I get in the mode, like to ship it, let's go, someone else is there to say, let's pause. Let's think this through. Can it be done better? And conversely, there are co-founders on, my co-founders may be, overthinking something. And I'm like, girl, let's just get it out. Let's see. But that I'm framing this as a problem for me personally, because I'm constantly trying to balance those two. And I haven't found the balance yet, just so you know.
No, that's fair. That's honest. And that's good. It's like, we all love a good old pendulum swing, but when you catch yourself and you're kind of trying to get a little bit back into this center ground, I'm with you. I'm so with you on that.
Can I add something to that, which is, I think it's also about, we are on Zooms a lot and in conversation a lot. And oftentimes we will be the only women, right? And so I just want to kind of like name like that this is, all of us, or when we identify as women, and to have a call and a conversation like this is also what's really important. And I always am pushing us to say, like, we don't have to build a company the way that they are out there or the way that a man would. And we get to build it the way that we will. And that's also why sometimes it's good to have like that pause or two, like, well, even we'll say that to each other and like in the room, like, if we were a dude, like, is that how we would handle this? Or do you think they would have asked us that question if we were if we were men? Like, we instantly are assumed that we're a nonprofit. Look, I worked in nonprofit my whole life. We love nonprofits. It's not the deal. But the thing is, like, why is that the assumption? Right? Because of our mission, because we're for women. And so one of the things I want to add to that, like, which is just a lesson that I am always thinking through as a woman business owner and founder of companies, is I can do this in the way that feels right to me, even if it bucks against what society would tell us is the way that you have to start a business and company, right? And part of that is having 4 co-founders. We've been told over and over again that some people will see that as this, some people will see this, and we're like, okay, we've accepted it. And now we're like, but this is what we're doing because this is what feels right to us. And we're working through like the complexities of that, as well as just like, how does that make our business even better? So I want to add that.
I love that. I think that's so self-aware. And, for years, Silicon Valley was in this mode of only hiring fresh eyes because they didn't want the template anymore. They're like, we need some new vision, some innovation. And I think about all the people who have come on this show, and so many of them had either zero experience in the industry or as an entrepreneur or whatever. And I think sometimes we're better off without having some preconceived notion of how something should be. But it's good for you. So if we were to go back to, let's say, when the idea, when you realized the domain was available, right? That moment, and you're talking to each other, and there's momentum, and like Verta, you said it was this moment of like, oh wow, this actually feels like it's supposed to happen. open. That's a big sign. If you could each go back to yourself in that moment and just say something, what would you say now?
That's a good question. It's such a good question. The moment, Verta, I'm laughing because the moment with the domain was also powerful for me. Verta said and that came to me after many cocktails one night. We didn't have a name for a long time. If you saw my domain names, it's like actually embarrassing, some of the ones I were thinking of. Wait, I'll just overshare this. One of the ones that I just found that I freaking bought, this is how bad it is. Ready?
Yeah.
Games that game. So bad. So bad. Okay.
I kiss a lot of frogs, right? Wait, do you keep renewing that?
Sometimes, I don't know. I'm on auto renew.
I know. Sometimes I'm so lazy. I'm like, I'll undo it next year.
And I'm convinced that I'm going to make it big with one of them one of these times.
Yeah.
But actually, this is a small world story because the domain name came to me after many drinks in the middle of the night. And I sat up in bed and I was dreaming about, and you know where I'm going with this, blogger. So in our mom world, we were enamored with blogger, and this is a mutual friend of ours, Amy Jo.
Yes, Miss Lisa Stone, blogger.
Stone herself, yeah. Which we've since, who also has been incredibly generous with her time with us in mentoring and guiding us, as have you, Amy Jo. But that name, I sat up and I said, oh, gamer, like blogger. Like I remember thinking that was such a clever play on words, and women really loved it, and it ended up being its own really lifestyle brand, truthfully. Mm-hmm. So then I went to my computer and still had my retainer in, and was, it was a combination of that, to Verta's point, and also the logo. And that was a real moment of, I think for all of us, like, this could be something. Not only how we reacted to the logo. I know this is a podcast, but for those of you who can't see it, the logo, I think, which again, I have to, Laura really spearheaded, creates a visual of celebration in a way that I think if we had spent months and hundreds of thousands of dollars, we probably wouldn't have gotten there. But Laura, again, did it in the middle of the night. I woke up the next morning and she said, we're done talking about it. Like, I got it. It's done. I'm like, what do you mean? We've this is like a big deal. The colors of the logo, the look, the feel, like people do focus groups. She's like, no, just go to your computer, turn it on. I came up and I was like, oh, that, like, done. Like, that's it. And it took her, I don't know, she did it in one night. But going back to your question, it was people's responses. This is for me personally at that first PAX, to the whole energy of our mission and the logo and the feel, and that we had this photo booth and that this was celebratory. But the real moment for me when I thought, man, this could be bigger than I had dreamed, was when and I'm a mother of 2 teenage boys. We had a group of teenage boys kind of hovering around our booth at PAX. I'm sure you all, I don't know if, I think all 4 of you were there for this, all 3 of you. And they were kind of hovering around the booth, and I kept thinking, oh man, are they gonna come heckle us? Like what's, teenage boys, I don't know. And they kind of stood there for a while, and finally they gathered the courage to come over. And so I just waited, paused, and they said, under their breath, as only teenage boys can do, which I love because I, have to. And they said, we just wanted to come over and say that we really like your logo and we like what you're doing. And I was like, how awesome is that to have these 5, 16-year-old boys? And then they said, can we have a pin? And they all proudly put their gamer's pin on. And yeah, that was a big moment for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what I would say, so I don't know if it would, you asked, what would I say to myself at that moment? But I'm going to go actually back to PAX, which is the train ride. So I actually so when we went to PAX in March, which is like almost exactly a year ago, I had another I had a session that I was leading at a high school, so I had to like leave. I came for a day, left for a day, came back. So I had a lot of time on the train. And we haven't talked about the fact that we're launching an app in the summer, right? Like that doesn't come up, but we are. That's also one of those pivots, right? Because when we talked 2 years ago, it was never this, right? So what I would say to myself is, Verta, like just get to the MVP of the app, y'all. Just get to the MVP of the app, because we are launching, but I drew pictures on the train of like what an app could possibly be, right? That would do this community thing that we're doing. And I just wish I would say to Verta then, just like back it up, like go faster. Because I am the one that pauses a lot. And like says like, I've gotten better. We call Laura refresh because she like goes fast. Like as soon as we say something, she's like, you got it done. And so I've taken on some refresh tendencies where I will go fast and I'll be like, yes, just get it done. But that was one of those things really thoughtful. And I would just say, right, like that, just do it. I would say, Verta, just do it. That's what I would keep saying to myself over and over the past 2 years. Just do it, Verta. Just do it. Just do it. Fear not. Just do it is what I would say to myself in those moments, because PAX was one of those moments, as we've said already, where we really knew that people were drawn to us.
I would love to say that if I had to go back to, I just always think of that text, Heather, that you sent, because I just know I was sitting on the couch. I remember I had to have surgery the next day. It's just like, it was such a moment for me. I would literally say to myself, I was so excited about this ride that we were going to go on. I would have said to myself, remember, business is fun and exciting, but there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. And don't forget about the downs. They're going to be there, because when you have an idea and you're so excited about something, it's all good. But let me tell you something, every business has ups and downs. We've been in business a year. We've had our downs. I mean, you can't deny it. So the downs obviously make the ups so much better, but I would remind myself of that, because starting a business is heavy stuff.
And the advice I would give myself is a quote out of a book that I just read that I am loving so much that you gave me, Amy. And the quote is by Stephen Covey, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he says, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. I think that is good advice for me. I think it's good advice for us. But also, we have a few main things, and they've changed. Like Verta said, it moves. But we've got 4 co-founders. We've got a growing community, and we've got all this momentum. And so I read that quote, and I was like, I love that. I just think it's good as we keep growing to just stay focused and work hard. And yeah, that's it.
Amy Jo, can I add one more? Because I think as 4 women going through this journey, we would be remiss, especially all the women out there listening. And this has been a big one, I think, for all of us. I think I speak for all of us. Don't be afraid to ask for money. I think that's really, really hard. We did an angel round this summer. We're doing a Series A round. I think that's been really hard for us, and now we're in it, and we have our groove with it. But it's not easy, I think, as a woman to ask for money. But that's, to Verta's point, like that's how we move the needle in this space and in any space. So yeah, so anyone listening, just worst they can say is no.
Love it. And what a point to wrap up on too. So you're doing it. I mean, it's been incredible to see the numbers you've put on the board in such a short period of time during the biggest wildcard curveball year we've all probably lived through. I'm just excited. I'm so excited. I want to this Niles guy, I just want to go hat tip him too and say, yes, thank you. To have helped maybe give us even a little more inertia, or just, bring it to the surface. So we need more of that too. So go Niles. Thank you all for sharing your time and your journey with us. And we will be following the journey as you continue to unfold and grow. And yeah, you have me excited, and thank you for representing in the space.
Thank you, Michelle.
So much.
Hey everyone. Thanks for listening to the show. Hit me up on social media to let me know what you think. I'm at Amy Jo Martin on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I want to hear your Why Not Now moments so I can share them on the show. Just send me a note to whynotnow@amyjomartin.com. For show notes and other offers, you can visit amyjomartin.com/whynotnow. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email newsletter for exclusive content and announcements. A big thanks to Rock Salt Music for all of the tunes by the talented John Coggins. And of course, a hat tip to Richard Brewer for editing and producing the show. I'll see you next time. And until then, why not now?